A very good evening to all my dear students. I hope you are doing really good. And I hope you have revised what we have done in the previous class. Good evening, Anubhav, Vishal, Varshal, Mas, Soumya, Miss P, Shailaja, and all the students who have joined on the portal also. Welcome for today's class. A new class, a new session. So although the topic is still the same that we are continuing from the previous class, we have already done almost 80% of the syllabus of share capital and debentures is already been completed. Today, we will be discussing the further sections and we will be completing chapter number 4, that is share capital and debentures. All right. Mr. Kevin says that I'm unable to join the Zoom session. So it's okay, Mr. Kevin. You can send your queries on the admin portal. We will address your queries from here also. All right. Okay, students. So Soumya has written, yes, ma'am, we have revised. Ma'am, succession certificate is compulsory in case of transfer. Asta Sethi is asking. Definitely, Asta Sethi, you will have to tell the company that intimation of transmission has to be done. Then only the shares get transmitted in your name. Is that clear? So let's have a quick recap of what we have done. So when you're asking me questions of transfer and transmission, that means you have revised really well. So transfer and transmission of securities was taken up in the previous class in which we had a detailed discussion. So quickly tell me which is the form number which is used in case of the transfer deed. Which is the form number that is used? This reminds me that we have to see certain forms also today. So which form number is used? Excellent. All those who have written SH4 form, that's absolutely correct. So SH4 form is used for as an instrument for the transfer whenever the shares are being transferred from one person to another. And within how many days the certificate relating to the transfer shall be done? The instrument has to be delivered. Within how many days? All of you, 30 days, 20 days, 1 month, or 60 days. So Miss P, again, 1 month was just to confuse you. Vishal, Pragya, Anubhav, Soumya, everybody is correct. 60 days is the correct answer. And is the provisions applicable in case of a depository? Do we have to apply section 56 if the names are in the records of the depository? No, then the above provisions are not applicable. After that, we did the detailed discussion of section 58, where the refusal for the registration was being made. The transfer was not being accepted. So Kevin, it is SH4. You sent the wrong answer earlier, but now you have corrected. SH4 was the correct answer. What was SH5 used for? Can anybody remind us? What was SH5 form used for? Everyone. SH4 was for your transfer deed that you're executing. What was SH5 form used for? Let me see how well you have revised your task. Partly paid up shares. Excellent, Almas, Anubhav, all those who have remembered so well. It was for the purpose of partly paid up shares. Excellent. What was the case? Mammoth Sethi Bhavya. Excellent child. So, no, it was not transmission related, Miss P. Transmission se related, I told you, intimation of transmission has to be sent. So, why we were not submitting any document? Because the person has already died. So, the son or the legal here simply has to intimate the company that that person is no more. A death certificate as a document proof can be given and the shares get transmitted in your name. Whether it was death, insolvency, lunatic, the 3 cases, D, death, lunatic, insolvency. These 3 cases we have discussed in transmission. But in transfer, you use SH4 form. Specifically in case of partly paid up shares, excellent, Asta Sethi, no objection has to be taken from that transferee. That hope, Mr. B, you don't have any problem if you'll have to pay balance rupees 2 per share. Yes, company will have to give the notice. Company will take the no objection. They will send the notice and no objection has to be received from the transfer. Is that clear to everyone? All right, good. So all those who have answered it correctly, well done. So now let's have a quick recap of refusal of transfer also. What was the case in case of private company? Private company sends the notice of refusal within reasons. Within how many days you can file the application to the tribunal? In both the cases, company has to send the notice of refusal within 30 days. If the company is sending the refusal in 30 days, further 30 days, you go and file it with the tribunal. Otherwise, no notice sent by the company for refusal, 60 days you file the application. I remember, I can recall, we did a case study based question also related to this, and you all answered very well in the previous class also. All right. Anubhav, you are making the appeal to the tribunal. Refusal is being sent by the company along with the reasons. Okay. And in case of a public company, you go within 60 days after you have received the notice. If no notice has been received, within 90 days, you will file the application with the tribunal. And tribunal's order in section 58 and 59, we discussed in both the cases, within 10 days, the transfer has to be made as and when the tribunal orders come. Clear to everyone? So we have had a quick revision of a previous session also, and alteration of share capital was done in the previous session. Bonus shares is very, very simple. You can give it a fair reading. We will be taking up rights issue today. Out of these, let me just tell you, we have already done alteration of share capital. 5 methods, consolidate, subdivide, सब आपने last time याद भी कर लिया था, सब आपको learn भी. Rights issue we'll be doing today. Bonus shares also we'll try to have it a fair reading. It's just a 5 minutes game. The reduction we have already done. Buyback of securities we'll be doing. So major sections to be covered is section 62, 63, 68, which is followed by 69 and 70. They are also part of it. And small section 67 is also left after reduction of share capital. There is a certain restriction, which is another important section. We will be doing important questions related to section 67 as well. And after that, the last part of the session, we will be moving to debentures, that is section 71. Fair enough? All right. I hope no doubts in alteration of share capital, increasing, consolidating, subdividing, converting, cancelling, all those we have discussed. Cancelling of the shares further leads to reduction of share capital, right? When we cancel the shares which have not been taken up by the public, it will amount to reduction of share capital. Very good. Asta Anubhav quickly said no. Kevin, excellent. All those who have replied no is the correct answer. Because it is clearly written, cancellation shall not deem to be reduction of share capital. Further issue of share capital. Now we are going to start with a new topic for today's session, that is section 62. What is section 62 trying to tell you? Can anyone give me a vague idea, or after referring to the study material, what do you think it is talking about? When we say further issue of share capital, why are we using the word further issue of share capital? Where have you learned the first word of issue of share capital? What were we issuing when we had to come to the market, when we're coming for the IPO, FPO? Remember? We used to issue the prospectus whenever we used to come up with the IPOs, initial public offer or further public offer, and prospectus was issued. Now we are further issuing the share capital. That means our needs are still more. We want to raise more money. So what are the ways? So in chapter number 3, we used to go and approach public via IPOs, FPOs. I told you there when we had private companies, we can only go for specifically private placement, but we were not allowed to go for IPO, FPO. But there were 3 things which were common in public and private companies. Those were rights issue, bonus issues, and private placement. Public company can also do that. Rights issue, bonus shares, and private placement, private company can also do that. So there was a term that you have heard in previous chapter with me, a rights issue, wherein we are not going out to the public for raising the money. We are asking and requesting our own members. We are going to issue the shares to our members and raising the money from our members itself. That is known as rights issue, where a company is proposing to raise its subscribed share capital by issuing further shares to its members itself. So there can be 2 different methods. One is you are approaching your members by giving them rights issue or bonus shares, which is in section 63. Section 62 covers rights issue as well as ESOPs. What is the meaning of ESOPs? Can anyone tell me? Have you ever heard the word ESOPs? What does the word ESOP stands for? Employee stock options. Excellent. Yes, Priya Mishra, excellent. When we issue the shares to our existing shareholders, it is called rights issue. Excellent. It is being issued to the existing shareholders. Very good. Excellent, Bhumika. Excellent. Then they offer to their friends and relatives to buy that right issue is made. Yes, you can do the renunciation also. Excellent, students. That means you have done your homework very well in accounts also. Employee stock option plan is the correct answer. Kirti, Soumya, Bhumika, Rajveer, Varsha, Kevin, all of you have given the correct name. So that is something which we are going to learn in the first half of the lecture, where we'll be understanding in detail about. Now you have read about, studied about, heard about these terms. Employees, issues, plans, ESOPs are issued, rights issued are given to the existing shareholders. They have the right to renunciation also. Today, we're going to understand the implication and law part related to it. So, right issue involves preemptive subscription rights to buy additional securities in a company. So, right is being given to the existing members. Suppose there are members A, B, and C in a company. So, the company is in need of raising money. So, instead of going to the public, company went to A, B, and C and said, we are requesting you to buy additional securities in a company. It is a non-dilutive pro rata method of raising capital. When the company is having a share capital, proposes to increase its subscribed capital by issue of shares, such shares will be offered to the holders of equity who are existing on the date of offer. So I told you there are 3 shareholders, A, B, C, who are already existing shareholders. So this is just a primitive subscription rights, means a right which has been available, Priya. This is the basic right which is given to the shareholders. Okay. So right is given to the existing shareholders that in proportion to the paid up capital, you can buy the shares. So whatever is your proportion of share capital, in proportion to that paid up share capital, you can buy more rights in respect to that. Now, how this right issue will be made to them? Will you give them a call, or you will publish on a social media, or some ad will be there? No. You have to send a letter of offer in the form of a notice. So a notice will be sent by the company to A, B, and C, specifying that these are the number of shares to be offered. Say, for example, he's a holder of 10,000 shares, he's holding 20,000 shares, he's holding 30,000 shares. So in ratio of their percentage of the share capital that they're holding, they will be given additional rights of, say, for example, 1, 2, and 3, whatever the percentage the company is going to calculate. All right. So accordingly, the rights issue will be made and a letter will be sent by the company to the shareholders, on the basis of which they will take a decision whether we are going to accept these rights or not. So by sending a letter of offer, so that means you're sending a notice in which you will clearly specify the number of shares to be offered. Say, for example, I am offering 1,000 shares to Mr. A, that you have this rights issue. You can take up 1,000 shares of the company. In proportion to your share capital that you're holding, you can take 1,000 shares. So the way you do pro rata allotment for allotment of securities, same principle of pro rata will be applied over. But you don't have to go into the numerical part. You simply have to understand that the letter of notice will be sent where the number of shares will be offered. After that, now this point is very, very important with respect to law. You will specify the time period within which the offer should be accepted. Now, what is this time period? Law says that this time period should not be less than 15 days, but not exceeding 30 days. So 15 days time period, that means minimum time period that will be given for them to accept this offer will be 15 days. You cannot ask them to accept the rights issue less than 15 days. Minimum 15 days ka time to dena hi padega. And what is the maximum time period? It should not be more than 30 days. But if you refer to the study material, the amendment in the rules have been made where they have specified that as per the amendment, this 15 days has now come down to 7 days. So what you have to learn, I will show you in the module right now, and I will tell you how you have to write the answer in examination answer, how you will specify. You will specify the time limit shall be 15 days to maximum 30 days. If it is not accepted within the time limit, it shall deem to be declined. So if you're not accepted, it will be declined, means that means you don't want to take these rights. Again, there is a specific provision for a private company that private company can be allowed to accept this rights offer for less than 15 days. When 90% of the shareholders have given their acceptance, a private company which has not made any default under section 92 and 137. I told you, when you do 92 and 137, that time you have to understand what does do section 6. अभी के लिए सिर्फ क्या याद रखना है कि प्राइवेट कंपनी के केस में the notice can be for less than 15 days only if the 90% of the members have given their consent. Let me show you the same from the study material also, so that we all are on the same page. Want to see where it is written in the study also? Let me just open it for you. So here we are, section number 62. Again, as we have been reading each and every line from the study material, here also we will be covering each and every line from the module as well. यहाँ तक सबको clear है section 61. Further issue of share capital is rights issue, preferential allotment, ESOPs. If a company announces 1:10, now this is called your how the proportion happens. Okay, so 1:10 rights issue means existing shareholder can buy 1 extra share for every 10 shares held by him. So I was telling you for 10,000, I was giving 1,000. So again, if you'll try to compute, the ratio is 1:10 only. So for every 10 shares that you have held, you can take 1 more extra share. So if I'm having 20 shares, how much I can take more in the company? Tell me, Miss Kirti. How many more shares you can take? For every 20. Very good. 2. All right, correct. Kirti, have you understood the pro rata now? So it is 1:10. The basis that we have taken, the ratio that we have taken, that will be given to you in the question. So if a company announces the right issue, means company is deciding how they want to issue the rights. So existing shareholder can buy 1 extra share for every 10 shares. Usually the price at which the new shares are issued by right issue is less than the prevailing market price. अब ये क्या है? Now I am the company. I want money. I'm not going to the public. I'm requesting my own existing members. Please buy the shares in my company so that I will get money. So how will I motivate them? If I would have gone in the market, I will issue the share price of ₹10 per share. Don't you think that I should allow them to buy the share for ₹8 or 9? Simple. To encourage the subscription, ताकि उनको सस्ता लगेगा मार्केट प्राइस से, तो वो मेरे शेयर्स खरीद लेंगे. जब वो मेरे शेयर्स खरीद लेंगे तो मुझे क्या बेनिफिट मिलेगा? मुझे ज्यादा पैसा मिल जाए. सिंपल हो गया? अंडरस्टूड? एवरीबडी इज क्लियर ऑन दिस फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ? Okay. Now this is a practical insight. This is your homework. Enjoy studying it. They have given you Suzlon Energy Limited case study. Practical बताया हुआ है. How much money was there? How much finance was needed? Companies offering in the ratio of 5 shares for every 21 shares. Just enjoy reading it. This is for your better understanding. Okay, nothing to learn in this. Learning part was only this much. That is, I have shown you in my presentation the how in proportion to your share capital it is. Now, the chart seems so complicated, but such a simple line is written here. Listed companies, you're a listed company, please follow SEBI and rules. You're a public company, which is not a listed company, you follow the provisions of the Act. You're a private company, please follow the provisions of the Act. So whenever you're doing a rights issue, if you're a listed company, you have to follow the SEBI guidelines. If you're an unlisted company, unlisted public company or a private company, you have to follow company. Priyanshi, here we are not issuing the shares at a discount. We are just issuing the shares at a price less than the market value. Okay, it is not issuing of the shares at discount. Mind it. Discount पे होता तो मैं आपको discount दे रही होती. मैं कम price पे share. Okay. Why, Priyanshi? Because in case of issuing of shares at discount, we have only done 2 exceptions. Only that is allowed, not at anywhere else. Anywhere else it is void. What were the two exceptions? Children, quickly answer me since we have touched base this topic. What were the two exceptions in which the shares can be issued at discount? What is the first one? Good. Soumya, Priyanshi, Rajvi. For the debt restructuring, when the creditors have to be paid, there we will tempt them by issuing a discount and sweating the shares. Almas, Sunil, Pragya, excellent. Good. I'm so happy. Miss Nidhi, what pro rata? What are you asking? So pro rata we have just done 1:10 shares ratio दिया होगा आपको किस पे दे रहे हैं? So that means अगर आपके पास 10 shares है तो आपको उसके बदले में एक share आप और ले सकते हैं right issue. Okay? So this right issue is a valid offer for both the shareholders and tempting for the company also. Kirubha, good. Sunil Kumar, all right. Everybody's clear about this paragraph now. SEBI has to be followed. So now it is again trying to tell you when you issue the rights issue. Now the study has made a simple table for you. Before going further, they have just given you a hint that now you will be issuing the shares to existing shareholders. That is known as rights issue. When you issue the shares to the employees, it is known as employee stock option. When you issue the shares to any other person for non-consideration, means a conversion has been happening, then also it is a part of further issue of share capital. So here SR is required and notice will be sent. Here SR is required. In all these three cases, special resolution is required to be passed. Now, let's understand further issue of share capitals. Again, to the holders who are existing. If you are existing member, तभी देंगे ना rights issue. Simple सी बात है. You should be existing shareholder, then only you'll. In proportion to the paid up share capital, this is also clear. A notice will be spent. So how will you give the rights issue? You will send a notice. What all will be written in the notice? Number of shares, time period. And if the offer is not accepted within that time, it will be declined. And you also have the right to re-announce. What is the meaning of right to re-announce all or any of the shares in favor of another person? That means if I have given the right issue to Mr. A, Mr. A can further re-announce or give those rights issued options to his friends or relatives, to anybody else. Unless the articles prohibit. So if it is written in the articles that you will not get the right to renunciation, then you cannot. Otherwise, you can give your right issue. You can sell it to any other person. Very good. Yes, of course, Anubhav, to anyone. Now, I wanted to show you this line over here. So it says the time period. What is the time period? Minimum time period is 15 days. Maximum time period is 30 days. Rule 12A has been inserted, which says the time period within which the offer shall be made for acceptance shall not be less than 7 days from the date of offer. So it says, as per 11th February 2021, this again regulation was passed that the 15 days have been now replaced with 7 days from the date of offer. So in the exam, you will write the lines as it is. The time period is 15 to 30 days. Number of days as may be prescribed. देखो मैं आपको एक चीज बताती हूँ. रूल्स में क्या होता है. अब मैंने यहाँ लिख दिया, जब मैंने एक्ट बनाया तो मैंने एक बेयर एक्ट में ये लाइन लिखी दैट द टाइम पीरियड should not be less than. Why it is not allowing me to use the annotations? What happened? Okay. Time period should not be less than 15 days or such number of days as may be prescribed, but not exceeding 30 days. So we have understood, ma'am, 15 days तक आपके पास टाइम है. 15 to 30 days में इसे एक्सेप्ट कर लीजिए. 15 days से पहले मिनिमम टाइम पीरियड, इससे कम नहीं हो सकता शॉर्टन. Only in case of private company, if 90% of the members have given a consent, you can have a shorter period. Otherwise, minimum 15 days. And maximum 30 days के बाद क्या हो जाएगा? Offers deemed to be declined. Okay, if not accepted within the time, it will decline. But law says 15 days or such lesser number of days. So here there are lesser number of days. So as per rule 12A, it was inserted the time period within which the offer shall be made shall not be less than 7 days. So from time to time, this time can change. Okay, so as of now, they have said it should not be less than 7 days. So you will write this provision as it is. So the time should not be less than 15 days. Remember, in small company definition, we did something related to this, where as may be prescribed option is given. So there the government has the right to fill the option. So here, related to a specific case, the option of 7 days was given. Otherwise, it is 15 to 30 days, 15 days or such less number of days as may be prescribed. Rule 12A prescribes that less number of days to be 7. Clear to everyone? So now if you have not, examiner will simply ask you, 18 days were given to Mr. A to accept the rights offer. He did not accept it in he did not accept in 18 days. What will happen to the offer? The offer is deemed to be declined. Offer is deemed to be declined. Clear? Yes or no? Right. Okay. After that, he will ask you, can Mr. A further sell his rights to somebody else? Can he give the rights to somebody else? Yes or no? Yes, ma'am. Right to renunciation is available to shareholders unless it is prohibited by the article. If the offer is declined by the existing shareholder, now let's understand what happened. So in our example, Mr. A was there. So he refused to accept the rights. He declined, or after the expiry of the time given to him, he did not reply in 18 days. Either he declined, mana kar diya, ya fir 18 days khatam ho gaya time. Option will be given, board of directors may dispose such shares with regard to which offer has been declined in such a manner which is not disadvantageous to the shareholders. Up not disadvantages means in such a way those shares have to be disposed which shall be advantageous for the shareholders. Means you will not try to harm the shareholders and the company just because the offer has been declined. So whatever manner the board of directors feel, they will dispose of these shares. The manner should be advantageous. MCQ आ सकता है. He can ask you, Mr. A, 18 days time period given, not accepted within the time period. Ma'am, it is a deemed decline. What will the board of directors do? They will sell these shares to somebody else. They will do something which is disadvantageous for the shareholders, or they will do something which is not disadvantageous for the shareholders. So you will choose the third option. They will dispose in such a way which is not disadvantageous, which in short means it should not harm the shareholders. Is that correct? All. Let's move forward. So I told you this is important. Private company can give the shorter period to accept the offer if 90% of the members have given their consent in writing that we are ready to accept it in a shorter. So this line is important. He can question आ सकता है इस पे. Private company shorter notice कब allow करेगी? If 80% have consented, 30%, 60% or 90%? Tell me. If how many members have consented? 90% have consented. Absolutely correct. Now comes to the ESOPs. To employees under a scheme of ESOPs, what are you going to issue? Special resolution. SR उसमें भी pass होगा, right issue में भी SR pass होगा, ESOPs में भी SR pass होगा. Miss P exceeding 30 days. So maximum time period is 30 days. If the offer is not accepted in that maximum time period, it shall deem to be declined. Okay. Conditions have been given under Rule 12. Now we are going to understand about the ESOPs. Now each and every line is very, very carefully you have to understand. Each and every word I will be laying the stress. So try to pay full concentration. ESOPs is the option given to the directors, officers or employees or its holding company or subsidiary company. So it's not just to the permanent employees or directors of your company. You can also issue the ESOPs to your holding and subsidiary company. So if I ask you, there is a company ABC Limited, which is offering the ESOPs to its shareholders A and B. It can do that. Yes, ma'am, by passing the special resolution. ABC Limited has a subsidiary company, PQR Limited, outside India. Can ABC Limited issue the ESOPs to its subsidiary which is in Singapore PQR Limited के एम्प्लॉइज को इशू कर सकती है या नहीं कर सकती? दीपक, कर सकती है या नहीं कर सकती है? कैन इट इशू और इट कैन नॉट इशू? So it can definitely issue to the employees of its own company or holding company, subsidiary company. Any of the employees of the company can be issued. Beta, that 18 days was the example. Oh my God, somebody saying, ma'am, you said 18 days. कौन है ये? रुक जाओ. Miss P, that means you are not listening to my lecture carefully. वो example था बच्चा. I said, for example, company has given you the time period of 18 days. So 15 to 30 days में के बीच में दे सकते हैं ना time. Okay? So that was my example that I. Miss Nidhi saying, ma'am, further issue को हिंदी में भी बता दीजिए. बेटा इतनी हिंदी में यूज कर रही हूँ, मुझे डर लग रहा है कि साउथ इंडियंस को समझ आ जाए. अभी सारा तो हिंदी में बताया बेटा मैंने कि फर्दर इशू राइट इशू होता है. जो एग्जिस्टिंग शेयर होल्डर है उनको हम इन प्रपोर्शन टू देयर पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल एक्स्ट्रा राइट्स दे रहे हैं कि आप 10 शेयर के बदले में 1 शेयर और ले लीजिए फॉर एग्जाम्पल, या फिर 21 शेयर्स के बदले में 5 शेयर्स और. अब वो शेयर होल्डर के ऑप्शन है राइट्स इशू को एक्सेप्ट करे या डिक्लाइन कर दे. उसका एक टाइम पीरियड दिया हुआ है, 15 टू 30 डेज का नोटिस पीरियड जाएगा कि इस टाइम दौरान में आप एक्सेप्ट कर दीजिए. ओके, या फिर आप उसे आगे किसी और के फेवर में दीजिए. करेक्ट निधि? आई होप यू हैव नाउ अंडरस्टूड इट नाइसली. Okay, Miss P, I'm glad you have understood, so not to worry. Where were we now? Okay, yes, ma'am, they can issue. Yes is the correct answer. So you can write down over here all the employees of the company holding a subsidiary, whether inside India or outside India. I was trying to figure it out, but I cannot find it out over here. But it is clear. It should be. It can be the employees working in India or outside India. Of any holding company or subsidiary company in India or outside, employees or directors of the company. But it does not include independent directors, okay? It will be coming in the definition of employees. Now, instead of special resolution, in few cases, you can pass an ordinary resolution also. If you are a private company who has not defaulted in section 137 and 92, or if you're an IFSC public company, or you're a listed company who is following SEBI's guidelines, then OR is also fine. Okay? So these are the 3 respective cases that you have to learn. IFSC public company है या private company जिसने default नहीं करा, or you are a listed company under SEBI, then you can pass an ordinary resolution also in case of a special resolution. To any person if authorized by a special resolution, even if they don't fall under the 2 categories. Now it is talking about the shares offered for consideration other than cash. What will happen? In case of a non-cash consideration, price has to be determined as per the valuation report of the registered bank. So now you are being issuing the shares for consideration other than cash. Then again, SR will be passed to any person whom you are issuing the shares. SR will be passed. Miss Harshida, what you have written is that is section 19, which I will correlate in section 67 also. Here you are issuing the ESOPs to the employees of your holding and subsidiary. So that is totally different. What you have written, the query, that is related to section 19. Okay. So when further shares are offered through point number 1 above to any other person for consideration, other than cash, then it tries to tell you that how will you determine the value. फिर अगर आप other than cash पे कर रहे हो, cash नहीं दे रहे हो, कुछ और दे रहे हो, तो कौन determine करेगा? Registered value और बताएगा कि किस तरह से उस चीज की valuation होनी चाहिए. Okay. Now see, what length period specified by the notice of offer? How they have written? See, study has told you already. ICAI is also telling you how you have to write the answer. अभी मैंने आपको बताया, उसने कहा what will be the length of period specified by the notice? What will my children write? Notice shall specify the time period within which the offered notice बताएगा, जैसे मैंने अपने एग्जांपल में बताया 18 days. जो भी आप नोटिस में whatever time period you are telling, it shall range between 15 to 30 days. But Rule 12A specifies that it should not be less than 7 days. As it is, write down in the exam. Clear, everyone? Now, dispatch of notice, how the notice is going to be sent to the existing shareholders. At least 3 days before the rights issue, the notice will be dispatched through a registered post or electronic. Let me see if it is more cluttered over here. So all these points are clear. In proportion to the paid up capital, letter of offer has to be sent, specifying the number of shares, time period, not accepted, rejected, renunciation. Okay. All right. Let's take it from there on, because all the points will not be covered otherwise. So please just keep marking down the points over here. Here you will highlight how the notice is being sent. First point was SR has to be passed for right issue. Second point for right issue is that a notice has to be sent through a registered post at least 3 days before the issue date. At least 3 days before the issue. And for third point was notice related to this offer, that is 15 to 30 days time period. Rule 12A inserted says it should not be less than 7 days. In case of a private company, 90% of the members have agreed, then shorter notice can be. So 4 points we have done so far in rights. Now let's try to do example number 21. A notice of rights issue was dispatched to the holders at their registered email ID. अभी हमने क्या पढ़ा, notice कैसे भेजना है आपने? Notice will be discharged through registered post or speed post or any other electronic mode. Electronic mode means emails, WhatsApp or courier or any other mode having proof of delivery at least 3 days before opening of the issue. So whatever way you are sending the notice intimation to the shareholders about the rights issue, it can be a registered post, ordinary post, speed post, electronic mode. It should have the proof that at least 3 days before the opening of the issue, they can get this offer. Now, how are they dispatching? At their registered email IDs in 2 days advance of opening of issue. Out of 4,230 members, 3,000 members holding 94% of shares acknowledges the mail and they consented to the shorter length of notice. First of all, we are assuming that it is talking about a private company. कितने दिन पहले बताना था? 3 days पहले. इन्होंने कितने दिन पहले बताया? 2 days advance. Shorter notice accept हो सकता है? Yes, ma'am. If the 90% of the members have given their consent. 90% of the members have given the consent. What is the example trying to tell you? 94% of the shareholding. Please calculate 3075 out of 4230 into 100. What is the percentage of the members? Use your calculators and do 307, 72% Soumya says. So can we say that 90% of the members have consented for the shorter notice? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? Only Miss Varsha and Soumya has sent the answers. बाकी सब कहाँ चले गए? चाय की ब्रेक ले रहे हो क्या? Yes, Kevin, where are you? Students on the portal. 72.69. Sunil, Harshada, Anubhav, Almas. Now everybody is back. So correct. Dhanush, correct. Mr. M.A., Kirti, Rajveer, yes. Now everybody is correct. So children, tell me that if 72% of the shareholders have given their consent for shorter notice, will it be a valid notice? Don't you think that I told you right now that at least 3 days prior it has to be issued? So it will not be considered a valid notice. So you will write that despite the notice has been sent in a proper way, the furnishing has been done in electronic mode, that is allowed, but it is invalid because 90% of the members should have given the consent. Here only 72% have given the consent. Number of members is not considered. They're holding, they have. Clear? थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल है, थोड़ा लेंदी भी है, ध्यान से समझिए. In English, it's bit lengthy, little technical. It is heavy, I understand. That's why we'll try to go very slowly so that you understand each and every provision. Quickly tell me, can you issue the right shares to your existing shareholders? Yes, ma'am. To the shareholders who are existing on that date, number one. Number two, SR will be passed or OR? SR will be passed. You need to send the notice time period. What is the notice time period? Minimum 15 days, maximum 30 days. Specifying the days in which shall be accepted. Inserted 12A says that it can be less than 7 days also. For private company, can we have a shorter notice? Yes, ma'am. How many members should have agreed for a shorter notice? 90%. 90% of the members, not 90% of the shareholders. वो 94% ऑफ द शेयर होल्डिंग बता रहा है ना आपको. 90% ऑफ द मेंबर्स होना चाहिए, जो लोग हैं. अगर 100 लोग हैं तो 90 लोग बोलेंगे कि हाँ ठीक है शॉर्ट नोटिस तभी हो. बट अगर 100 करोड़ शेयर कैपिटल है और आप उसमें से 90% निकाल रहे हो शेयर कैपिटल, नॉट दैट, यू हैव टू 90% ऑफ द मेंबर्स शुड. क्लियर हो गया? एंड हाउ मेनी डेज प्रायर टू दैट नोटिस हैज टू बी सेंड? हाउ मेनी डेज प्रायर टू the notice has to be dispatched by electronic mode, speed post, registered post? That is fine. Within how many days it should be sent before the opening of the issue? At least 3 days before the opening. Everybody is clear now? Good. Everyone has written very well clear, ma'am. So that's great. Now let's understand, shall not be applicable on conversion of debentures into equity. When are we going to convert the debentures into equity? Sometimes government passes the order that if it is in the public interest, you should convert your debentures into equity. Then that becomes a compulsion. Conversion of debentures or loan into equity also leads to the increase in the subscribed capital. If I am converting my debt into equity, children, am I increasing my share capital? Yes, Kevin, your answers are correct. Good. If there is a loan which is being converted into equity, yes, ma'am, we are increasing our subscribed share capital. Alteration of the memorandum will happen because my authorized share capital will get increased. Section 62 will not apply to such increased share capital conversion if the terms and conditions has been specifically told. Approval has been done by special resolution prior to issue of debentures or granting. It says where you were issuing the debentures. So it is talking about convertible debentures. So where it is a convertible debentures and you have already told them and that after certain period your debentures will be converted into equity shares, then there is no need of passing the SR while you're converting. Clear? But there is a case when it is a compulsory conversion. Government has the power. Government, when the debentures have been issued to the government or loan has been given to the by the government to the company, then there can be a compulsion. Government consider it necessary in the public interest that we want that the debt should be converted into equity. Then company cannot argue in that case. They have to convert their debentures into equity. If the terms of the issues or raising of such do not providing an option for such conversion, even if the terms, even if it was not told at the time of issue of debentures, then also you can convert. So this point, subsection 3 tries to tell you that convertible, this is talking about the convertible debentures. Normal company ke case mein convertible debentures, the debentures which are converted into equity after a certain period, SR should have been passed at the time of issue of the debentures. So no SR will be required later. Okay, if SR has been passed, section 62 will not be applicable. This subsection 4 and 5, 6, you will give the heading compulsory conversion when the debentures and loans have been taken from the government. So what you have to remember over here is point number 1, where the debentures have been issued to government or loans issued by the government. यहाँ तो डिवेंचर होता क्या है बच्चा? It's a kind of a loan. It's a kind of a borrowing. We will be doing in detail section 71 also. Debenture is a kind of a loan or a borrowing which has been issued and money has been raised by issuing debentures. So it is a kind of a loan. So you have issued a debenture to the government or loan issued by the government. They will convert it compulsorily into shares if it is in the public interest, and terms and conditions will be decided by the government. And fourth point, it says, even if it was not clear at the time of issue of debentures that we will be converting it, then also the government has a right, because government forceful conversion करवा सकती है. यहाँ पे आप लिख सकते हो word, it's a forceful conversion of debentures into shares by the government if it thinks fit to be done in the public interest. Clear? Now, if you are not satisfied, if the terms and conditions are not accepted, then quickly make an appeal to the tribunal within 60 days, and tribunal, after hearing the company and government, will pass the orders. So they are not telling you what is the public interest, क्यों गवर्नमेंट ने कहा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं कह रहे. आपने सिर्फ 4 पॉइंट याद रखने हैं. गवर्नमेंट कह रही है, गवर्नमेंट को डिबेंचर्स थे, पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट में है, टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस गवर्नमेंट ने सेट करी है. Even if it was not mentioned at the time of issue of debentures, then also it can be a forceful conversion. If you have any objection, go to the tribunal within 60 days. Yes, Ms. Sabah Shakil, you can get direct questions also or interrelated descriptive questions. Okay, and tribunal will pass the order. But government should consider the following things while the government is talking about this conversion. Government should see the financial position of the company. What is the financial health? Whether the company is really doing well, shall we increase the capital or not, or shall pay the debentures back? What are the terms of issue of debentures? What was the rate of interest and any other matters which are necessary? So all these things shall be considered by the government whenever it is thinking or planning to convert their debentures into shares. When the government order is passed, the authorized share capital of the company will increase and memorandum will be altered. Simple. जब आपने डिबेंचर्स को इक्विटी में बदला तो आपकी ऑथराइज्ड कैपिटल इंक्रीज हो गई. आपके मेमोरेंडम ऑफ एसोसिएशन के क्लॉज 7 में लिखी हुई ऑथराइज्ड कैपिटल क्लॉज 6 पे. सो नाउ इट हैज इंक्रीज, सो यू नीड टू ऑल्टर योर मेमोरेंडम ऑफ एसोसिएशन. Section 62 will not apply to Nidhi companies while complying with the exception. Nidhi companies will take care of the interest of the shareholders are protected. So it says Nidhi company को Section 62 applicable ही नहीं है. The shareholders' interests have to be protected under this case. So ESOPs is something which is not taken up in detail over here, but you should remember these points related. So rights issue we have done extensively. So related to ESOPs, you simply have to remember these points, that SR will be passed and the shares can be offered to the employees of subsidiary and holding company. And they are given a benefit is given for the shares at a future date at a predetermined price. So there is a certain date on which the exercise price is given, on which employees can take up these shares at a future date. So ABC Limited Company is earlier HDFC Bank used to give ESOPs to their members. So there is an exercise date and vesting period. So say, for example, the company has given a vesting period of 3 years. So after 3 years, you have an option to convert these options into share. So whatever price is prevailing, a predetermined price they've already set up. So at that lesser price, the employees will get the benefit. They will buy these shares. Okay. And only these 3 cases, OR is required to be passed. So this much information they have given for ESOPs. This is what you have to remember. The large information was related to rights issue. Then we have also discussed about the conversion. Conversion can be done into equity shares. First, these points you have to remember. And this is specifically related to government compulsory conversion. Tribunal के पास 60 days में चले जाना है if you're not happy. Government will take care of these points if it is passing about the conversion. And when the conversion has been done, share capital is increased, authorized share capital increases, and alteration of memorandum will take place. Is that clear to everyone? Let's quickly read issue of bonus shares also. And then section 63 and 64 are very, very simple. 64 is saying nothing. It is simply talking about, issuing of your giving the notice to the ROC. Reduction of share capital we have already completed. I want to take up section 67, then we'll go back to bonus shares. So section 67 talks about restriction on purchase by company or giving loans for the purchase of its shares. So what is section 67 tries to tell you? Section 67 says that you cannot give any kind of assistance to your employees for buying the shares of their own company. Since we are going to approach after reduction of share capital in section 66, we have already done. And then we go to buyback of security 68. In between, there is a small section 67, which tells you that you cannot give any assistance to your employees for buying the shares in your company, right? So you remember in case of a holding company also cannot have buy the shares of your company. So now you can relate it with the section 19. Thank you so much. Mr. Anubhav Malik has written, ma'am, it's clear like water. So that's wonderful. Concepts like these, when you get pani ho jana, when you get the concept clarity like that, it really makes me feel very happy. Very good, Anubhav and Varsha. I'm glad the concepts are totally clear to you. Harshada, for buying the ESOPs, that was just a time period that I was telling you that there is a limit which is given. There is no provision of 3 years. Nothing has been here. That was just an example to explain you how the ESOPs actually function. Okay. So no company cannot buy its securities because reduction in the share capital leads to diminishing of the funds where the creditors have to be paid. So creditors will definitely get affected if you are reducing your share capital. So I told you only the reduction of share capital is the process which you have to follow under section 66. Apart from that, you cannot buy your own shares. So reduction according to the applicable provisions. Company limited by shares or guarantees having share capital will not buy their shares unless the reduction takes place as per section 66. So there are certain restrictions on giving loan or guarantee or providing security. Public company will not give any financial assistance or provide any loan by way of security so that the people can go and buy the shares of their company or holding company. Now, what is this restriction? Simply try to tell you. Let's talk in a layman's language. I am a company, ABC Limited. My company is coming up with the issue of shares. So now I am in need of money and I went to my employees. I told them, please go and buy my shares. I will give you loan for this. You cannot give any kind of financial assistance so that your employees buy your own shares. Or you are trying to give any guarantee or any security or any kind of loans, financial assistance for buying the shares of your own company or your holding company. There is a restriction under section 67. You cannot give the assistance to your employees for buying for loans, for buying the shares of your company. Yahan tak clear hai? But there are certain exceptions to this rules. It says public company will not give loan, guarantee or assistance to its employees to buying the shares of the company or holding company. But there is an exception. So this is exception you have to learn. There are 3 exceptions. Number 1, where the money is lent by a banking company in the ordinary course of business. Now children, tell me one thing. What is the work of banking company? Banking company का तो काम ही है कि लोन देना. अब अगर आप बैंकिंग कंपनी के ऊपर रिस्ट्रिक्शन लगा दोगे कि आप किसी को लोन मत देना कि वो जाकर शेयर्स बाय कर रहा है कंपनी के, फिर बैंकिंग कंपनी तो काम ही नहीं कर पाएगी ना. Banking company deals with so many consumers, employees, people. It has to give a loan to its own employees also. How can you find out the reasons for what purpose they are taking the loans and where they have used that money? So out of that certain money, they might have bought the shares also of a company. So it strictly says that banking company is outside the preview of this exception. If it is giving loan because it is into lending business, so banking company can lend money in the ordinary course of business. If money has been given for the purchase of fully paid shares in the company by trustees or on behalf of company's employees, employee share schemes approved by company through special resolution. Now, this second category is a special case where it says that company has passed a special resolution that we will be giving financial assistance to our employees for buying the fully paid up share. तो अगर आप ऐसी किसी स्कीम में फॉल कर रहे हो, एम्प्लॉई शेयर स्कीम्स होती है, देन ऑल्सो यू आर फॉलोइंग अंडर द एक्सेप्शन. दैट मीन्स you have been given the eligibility, that the CSR has been passed by the company, that company's employees are given the freedom, that assistance will be given for buying the fully paid up shares. And what is the third exception? Lending money by a company to its employees other than directors or KMPs. So who are these employees? These are smaller category of employees. They are not the directors or KMPs. So can we lend money to directors and KMPs? No, ma'am, not at all. They are not the part of exception. Other than directors and KMPs, can we lend the money by the company to employees? Yes, ma'am, if the two conditions are satisfied. Number one, the amount of loan is less than 6 months of the salary of the employees. Number two, they are going to buy the fully paid up shares in the companies, and they are going to held up by the way of ownership. All these shares shall be listed on the recognized stock exchange. Then only eligibility will be given to them that yes, you can go and buy the shares in the market. So third exception says, ध्यान से सुनो फिर से. First exception is banking company, no restriction if it is lending in the ordinary course. Second, if special resolution has been passed for specific employee schemes, employee share schemes, where they have agreed that financial assistance will be given to the employees, loans will be given so that they can buy the shares of a company, that is it. Third category, where you are lending the loans to the company's employees other than directors and KMPs, but that amount of loan will not exceed 6 months of the salary, and they are again buying fully paid up shares in their company or holding company. In that way also section 67 will not. Clear to everyone? 2 minute लेकर section 67 पढ़ लो, because I am going to ask you n number of questions related to section 67. And if you try to do any contravention of section 67, 1 lakh to 25,000. ये क्या गड़बड़ हो गई? 25,000 कैसे हो सकता? 25 lakh rupees, which may extend to 1 lakh to 25 rupees. An officer in default is also liable for imprisonment of 3 years. You want to see the penalty of section 67? A very, very important penalty. You cannot give any kind of loan unless you're a banking company. Please give loan. Banks have to give the loans in the ordinary course of business. उनका काम है ये. They borrow and give money. Again, if you are giving to the trustees who are holding the money by special resolution, employee share schemes है, दे सकते हो loans, कोई problem नहीं है. But make sure that they are listed companies. If you're not listed, then registered valuer will do the valuation. Value of the shares to be purchased shall not exceed 5% of the aggregate share capital. Very important point. So the shares that you're going to purchase shall not be more than 5% of the aggregate of the paid up share capital and free reserves. Disclosure in respect of voting rights not exercised directly by the employees in respect of the shares shall be given in the board's report. So this is simple. They are trying to tell you that these information shall also be given in the board's report. Lending by the money, number 1 point to its employees. ये हमने अभी करे points. You are giving the money to employees not exceeding 6 months salary for buying the fully paid shares in the company or holding company by way of beneficial ownership. So this is your penalty, dear students. Any contravention, it will not affect the right to redeem the preference shares. Okay, it is not talking about the preference shares. Fine which will exceed from 1 lakh rupees to 25 lakhs and officer in default में and है imprisonment. जेल तो होनी है, 3 साल की जेल है अगर आपने किसी भी एम्प्लॉय को लोन दिया, किसी तरह की कोई फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस. क्यों कर रहे हैं जेल? क्योंकि बेटा आप शेयर रेज कर रहे हो, मनी आपने पब्लिक से रेज करनी थी, अपने ही एम्प्लॉइज को लोन भी दिलवा रहे हो कि जाकर तू मेरी कंपनी के शेयर्स खरीद ले. कितना बड़ा हेरफेर कर. You have come out to the market, you want the public to invest in your shares, you will sell your shares, you will get the money. Now you're routing the shares through your employees only. You have given them financial assistance, they are buying your shares in your company. You are restricted to do that. No financial assistance or loan can be given to the employees for purchasing its own shares. Only three exceptions: banking company, where you're doing under trustees, have been kept under employee share scheme. SR has been passed, fully paid shares. That also there is a condition, not aggregate of more than 5% of the value of shares. And the third category is where you are giving the loans to the employees less than 6 months of their salaries for buying the fully paid up shares. Only in these cases they can buy the shares, they can give the financial assistance. Otherwise, penalty of 1 lakh to 25 lakh rupees for a company, and officer in default will be liable to 3 years imprisonment also along with the same penalty. Soumya, beneficial ownership, SBO, is another detailed topic which you do in the chapter number NGT. We will be using this word. As of now, simply understand the beneficial owner means you're holding the ownership in the company where you're holding certain percentage of the interest in it. Anubhav, you are lending, you are a company, giving loan to the employee for the purchase of the shares. So you are lending the loans. Read the exceptions carefully. You will not cover the directors and king. Priya Mishra, they are following under the exception. They will not deny. It is their business to give the loan. Definitely, Priyanshi, everybody will be covered, whoever is related to the company. So let's take a small break here. Absorb section 62 and section 67. And then I'm going to give you a test out of 3 questions, descriptive questions. I'm going to do with 2 to 3 questions we'll try to do from section 67 related. So let's take a small break and also revise section 66 because I might ask you questions from section 66. Let's take a small, sir, we are taking a break over here. Right, welcome back, students. Before we proceed to buyback of securities, let us do some questions related to section 66, 67. I hope we have done the questions related to refusal of transfer in the last class. Even preference shares was done. Okay, let's take up a question related to the topics that we have recently covered. All of you will read this question very carefully and try to send the answers in the chat box. Shilpi Developers India Limited owed to Sunil 10,000. On becoming the debt payable, the company offered 100 shares of rupees 100 each in full settlement of the debt. The said shares were allotted to Sunil as fully paid up in lieu of his debt. Examine the validity of this allotment in light of the provisions of the Companies Act. Now, what is he trying to tell you? Can you just tell me which section it is talking about, or what is the topic all about? Thoda sa, if you can just tell me what section. Even if you're not correct wholly. Very good. Let me see on the portal. Yes, Mr. Kevin, those were the debentures which have been issued, debentures taken up by the government. Okay, the query that you have asked. Conversion of loan, excellent. Section 62. No, Priya, it was not 67. Further issue of cash, excellent, Miss Pia, very good. So here he is trying to tell you that he had to pay 10,000 rupees to Mr. Sunil. So he said, okay, instead of giving you, I'm returning of your debt, I'm converting it into equity. So abhi mujhse somebody just asked me that, ma'am, direct questions come in the exam. So if you apply your mind and heart to this question, this is a direct question of conversion of debt into equity. Just the figures that they have quoted is made to understand that certain money was to be paid. Now he's giving him shares, 100 share of rupees 100 each is equivalent to 10,000 rupees. How will you do this validity? So section 62, clause 1, clause C, absolutely correct. Those who have found the hidden point, Miss P, Rajveer, Priya Mishra, it is section 62, the third part that we have covered from the study material. A company having a share capital wants to increase its share capital by further issue of shares, either for cash or consideration other than cash. 62 subsection 1 में A part में क्या था children? Rights issue. B part में क्या था? ESOPs. C part में क्या था? Where you're issuing for consideration other than cash means you're converting your debt into equity. Such offers, first of all, special resolution will be required. How will the price determined? Price will be determined by the registered value. Always now, how to attempt the questions also. First of all, you will always write the provisions of the case. You will always write the examiner, tell the examiner that these are the provisions related to which it relates. Now, examiner related questions of students. Ma'am, do we have to remember and learn all the sections? Even if you don't write the subsection and subclause, section 62 you will automatically remember, because repetitively when we keep talking about the sections, children, I told you, when you sit for studying, you have to study in a framework of sections only. When I'm doing prospectus, I know it starts with which section. When I'm doing share capital, I know it starts with section 43. DVRs have been explained. Section 46 is coming. 47 is coming. 48 is variation of rights. तो जब आप पढ़ते रहते हो ना, तो आपका सीक्वेंस ड्रॉ हो जाता है सेक्शंस, तो ऑटोमेटिकली आपको सेक्शंस लर्न हो जाए. जब आप सेक्शन 62 को लर्न कर लोगे, अभी तो वी हैव जस्ट अंडरस्टूड, इट्स वेरी रॉ इन योर माइंड, यू हैव नॉट लर्नड इट, यू हैव जस्ट टेकन द इंफॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम मी, you have understood. Now we will do the learning part, because we try to learn the sections also in the class. So now you will see section 62 subsection 1 talks about the further issue of share capital. A part was for rights issue, then ESOPs, third is for consideration other than cash. where we have learned about converting the debt to equity. So if you can recall this in the exam, subsection 1 clause C, it's okay. Even if you don't recall, you can simply write down section 62. Even if you don't remember section 62, then my dear students, what you have to write? As per the provisions of Companies Act 2013. You have to try writing in such a safe way that a wrong section is never to be mentioned. So you have to be very, very careful. Yahan pe you write section 62 and you start talking about ESOPs, don't expect marks. So neither section should be wrong, nor the content should be wrong. So number one, SR needs to be passed. Price will be determined by the register value. So this is your provision where you want to increase the share capital by offering the shares for. Yes, absolutely, Varsha, according to the relevant provision of Companies Act. Absolutely correct line. Okay. Then you will write the facts of the case. In the present case, this company is classified as shares issued for consideration other than cash, must be approved by SR. Valuation will be done by the registered valuer as per the applicable provisions. Even as per the applicable provisions, लिख दोगे तब भी ठीक है. Of chapter 3 and any other consideration, if you remember, it's okay. Otherwise, as per the provisions, you have to do the registered valuer valuation. Correct? Now you want to see where it is written in the chapter also. Should I show you? So जो हमने अभी पढ़ा, section 62 में अलावा. Everyone has found it? This is the point it is talking about. Have you found? Can anyone tell me the page number so that I can show to others also? Quickly. Where we have just read about the register valuer also. Here we have read about the notice, 3 days prior. $4.52. Where has it gone? Just read about it. Now, here it is. So this is your section 62, subsection 1 clause C. SR will be passed when the shares have been offered for cash or consideration other than cash, and such valuation has to be done by the registered valuer as per Rule 13. So no need to remember Rule 13. If you have written as per the registered valuer, SR what has been written, you will get the full marks related to this topic. All right, let's try seeing more questions. Please read this question very carefully. This is again related to further issue of shares. Existing shareholders are not willing to fund for expansion. Read the questions. Have you read the question? Company is wanting to set up a new process. Existing shareholders are not willing to fund for expansion. So the company approached for subscribing the shares for expansion. Can Dhyan Dairy Limited issue shares only to Sham Limited or the Earth Limited, a public company, offer the new shares to persons other than existing shareholders, what are the conditions in which shares can be issued to person other than the existing shareholders? Discuss whether these shares can be offered to the preference shareholders also. Excellent, Anubhav. SR is definitely required because in all the three cases, SR is must. So he's simply asking you that can the company raise the further share of issue share capital? So section 62 tells you that wherever the company wants to increase its capital by issue of share further capital, it can offer to the existing shareholders by way of rights issue. It can issue ESOPs. It can do any other method by the cash determined. However, the price will be determined as per the valuation report of the registered value. This is, we just covered this point right now. So here the company has approached another company for subscribing the shares for expansion. Sham Limited is neither an existing shareholder nor the employee. If it is authorized by SR, either for cash or consideration, then the condition that the price will be determined by the valuation report of registered value. So again, he is falling under the category of section 62, subsection 1, clause C. It is quite clear that these shares can be issued to the persons who may be preference shareholders as well, provided SR has been passed. Is that clear to everyone? So what is your correct answer related to this? Section 62, clause 1, clause C category में ये fall करेगा, where you are further issuing of the shares for the persons other than existing shareholders and members. क्योंकि अगर members को दे रहे हो तो rights issue दे रहे हो, existing shareholders को अगर employees को दे रहे हो तो ESOPs दे रहे हो. Third category में आप any other person. So bonus shares. Let me see if we can take one more question I wanted to do with all of you. Because it's very important, children, you do the question so that you understand how you have to. Section 62 clear हो गया ना? आप सबको हमने questions भी कर लिए. Let's try doing question number 15 related to so you have read section 67 very carefully. Let's see if you can figure out this question. QLAF Limited, a subsidiary of PQR Limited, decides to give a loan of rupees 4 lakh to a resource manager, Mr. Surya Narayan, who does not fall in the category of KMPs, and draws a salary of 40,000 per month to buy 500 partly paid up equity shares of rupees 1,000 each. Examine the validity of company's decision under the provisions of Companies Act. Now, children, I give you an open book system test. I am telling you the section also. Apply the principles of section 67. Even if you have not read it in the break, read it right now. Understand and try solving this question with reference to section 67. Everyone should answer it. Excellent. 3 students have already answered. Tigla, Harshita, Priya. Very good. Excellent, Mr. Tigla, Samnit. Ananya, good. Priya Mishra. Very good. You have figured out the point of partly paid up shares also. Excellent. Almas, very good. Miss P, nice. I'm happy at least you're trying to concern and relate with the provisions. Miss Soumya, Mr. Sunil Kumar. So very well done, children. You have beautifully applied your brains. So let me now tell you the answer. It specifically relates to section 67, subsection 3. The third category where I told you lending of the loans to the employees other than director and KMP. So here he has told you he does not fall under the category of KMP. So it's okay. The loan shall not exceed the amount of 6 months of the salary. Here the salary is 40,000. So how much is the 6 months of the salary? 2 lakh? 40,000? Here he is giving a loan of 4 lakh, which is exceeding. So loan should be for subscribing fully paid up shares. So this case, it is not a KMP. He is drawing a salary. Keeping the above fact and legal provisions, he is granting a loan of 4 lakh and it is for partly paid up share. Therefore, it is invalid. Why? Because it is for It is again because it is more than 6 months of the salary and the loan is being given is meant for the purchase of partly paid up shares. It is not for the fully paid up shares. Now, all those who have located these 2 points, excellent, 3 out of 3 for them. But you will get 3 out of 3 only if you write the answer in the similar way. So click a picture of this sheet so that you remember that how you have to write the answers in the exam, children. Very, very important. Is that clear to everyone? All right. Let's do one more question so that you have a better concept clarity. Natraj Limited is engaged in the manufacturing of glass products. Natraj Limited is engaged in the manufacturing of glass products. It wants to provide financial assistance to employees to help them to buy for fully paid up shares. Advise whether it can purchase its own shares. In the instant case, company purchasing to redeem its preference shares, does it amount to acquiring its own shares? Read it very carefully and again try applying your mind. So presence of mind is very important. Yes, Bhumika, what are you asking? Oh, very good answer given, Bhumika Panashiti. Kevin, your answers are not coming. I hope you all are trying to solve the questions. All right. So again, I will just show you the answer, how you have to attempt this. Yes, the financial assistance can be given. It will amount to purchasing of its own share, permits the company. Only there are 3 exceptions where you can be allowed. Only, again, this is first one that we have done. Now here it is talking about section 68 allows to buy back the securities in certain cases. So purchasing of redeeming of its preference shares is not acquiring of its own shares. Certain limits have to be fulfilled. Only then you can buy back your own shares. So this question was related to section 67 and from there we move ahead to section 68. It beautifully tried to tell you that you can, yes, you can have your shares buyback can be done, but it can only be done with respect to certain criteria which has to be followed by the company. Fair enough, children. Now let's quickly move towards our balance. 2 important sections that have been left. That is section 68 and section 68, 69, 70, they're interrelated as 70. But before that, I think there was a small section of bonus shares. Let's quickly give it a reading. So this is something which you have been reading since childhood. Company can issue fully paid bonus shares out of free reserves other than revaluation reserve, out of SPA and CRR. Remember, when redemption of preference shares were done, we specifically created CRR up to the nominal value of shares. And I told you that this capital redemption reserve can only be utilized for issue of fully paid bonus shares. तो इसमें क्या याद करना है? इसमें पहले सोर्स याद करना है, कहां से फुली पेड बोनस शेयर्स हो सकते हैं. नंबर 1, फ्री रिजर्व्स, सिक्योरिटी प्रीमियम अकाउंट एंड सीआरआर. Bonus shall not be issued by the reserves which are created out of revaluation. So out of revaluation of assets, revaluation reserve cannot be used. Again, bonus shares shall not be issued in lieu of dividend. You cannot say that, okay, there are my shareholders who are standing in queue for waiting for the dividend. I will not give you the dividend. I will give you bonus shares instead. That is again not allowed. If you're issuing bonus shares, they can never be in lieu of dividend. Dividend is separate. Bonus shares are separate. Now, how the bonus shares have to be issued? Now, if you remember very beautifully, we have done DBRs. Very beautifully, we have learned sweat equity. In the same format, I have drawn these diagrams and flowcharts for you so that you remember the hidden points. That is, articles should authorize. The recommendation from board has to be taken. No default in the payment of interest. No default in the payment of statutory dues. And again, the partly paid up shares should have been made up, fully paid up. Then only you can issue the bonus shares. So बहुत basic है, highlighted है. Simply you have to learn. All right. Section 64 also I told you all the forms asset 7 has to be given to the ROC for all the alteration of the share capital done under Section 62. Wherever any order has been coming from the government for conversion or any redemption of preference shares, all these and default has been made in filing of any of notice, fine will be charged. So Section 64 simply talks about the filing of the forms with the ROC. Section 67 we have done very beautifully. We have completed the question answers also. Now we come to the most important section, that is buyback of securities. Again, we'll try our best to learn the section today in the class itself. Section 68 talks about purchasing your own securities. Can we buy our own securities? Yes, ma'am. Abhi humne ek question mein end mein padha कि yes, by following the procedure of buyback of securities, we can do the Section 68. The company can purchase back its own securities. So you have issued the securities to the investors. Now you buy back the securities from the investors and you pay off the money. How this buyback can be done? Specified securities include ESOPs also or any of the securities notified by central. So the sources of the buyback will be from what sources, how the buyback can be done out of the free reserves, SPA and proceeds of any other shares or other specified security. So if company has free reserves, they can utilize it for buyback of securities. If company is having security premium account balance, that can also be utilized for buyback. Same free reserves and security premium was for bonus shares also, but there it was except revaluation. Here there is no such exception. And also whatever shares you issue the fresh shares and out of that money you can buy back your own securities. However, the buyback cannot be made out of the proceeds of the earlier issued shares of the same kind. So you issued A category equity shares and now you are buying back the same securities. So you cannot have the same proceeds of the issue used for buying back the same securities. Is not possible. You can issue preference shares for buying back the equity. You can issue equity shares for buyback of preference shares, but you cannot buy back the same securities out of the proceeds of same. Clear? So first point is sources for the buyback, from where the buyback will come. Second is, what are the conditions for buyback? Articles should authorize the buyback of securities. Special resolution has to be passed in the general meeting for doing the buyback. So in today's section, all the section 62, subsection 1, subsection 2, subsection 3, rights issue, ESOPs, consideration other than cash, all of them had SR. Only one exception where there were 3 categories OR was required. For buyback of securities, always SR has to be passed whenever you're buying back of securities, and article authorization is must in every case. Now again, two exceptions. Buyback बहुत ध्यान से सुनना है. There are two exceptions when SR is not required. So I told you SR is required to be passed whenever you are doing the buyback of securities. What are the cases where SR is not required? Where the buyback is not exceeding 10% of the total paid up capital and free reserves of the company. Now, what is the word that I have used over here is total paid up equity capital. So if my total paid up equity capital is 100 crores and I am I'm doing the buyback of less than 10% of this plus the free reserves. So let's take a figure. Let's take a practical figure. 100 crores of paid up equity capital plus 20% of free reserves. Total is 120 CR. 10% of 120 will be 12 CR. If I am doing the buyback of 10 crore, do I need to pass the SR? Yes. It's the same was written. Mr. Naveen Kumar, absolutely. The way you are redeeming your preference shares. No, ma'am, it will not be required. Excellent, Dhanush, Rajveer, Anubhav, all of you. Why? Because where you are, the buyback is less than total paid up equity capital plus free reserves ka 10% se less hai, then buyback is, special resolution is not. Then what will be required in such a case? Board resolution will be required. What will be required if you are doing a buyback of 10% of the paid up equity and free reserves, then board resolution is required. Please write down these notes with me. If buyback is less than 10% of paid up equity share capital plus free reserves, then no SR needed. Only board resolution is required. Clear to everyone? Now, what is the maximum limit of buyback? Buyback can never be more than, can I delete this? I hope you all have written it. Buyback cannot be more than 25% of the aggregate paid up capital and free reserves. In case of buyback of equity shares, the maximum is 25% of the total paid up equity share capital in any financial. So children, first of all, answer me. 25% of the aggregate paid up share capital and free reserves. Does it include preference share capital? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? Tell me. Yes, ma'am, it will include equity and preference share capital because it is aggregate of the paid up share capital. Is that clear, all of you? So here, the maximum limit that you have to consider is 25% of the total paid up share capital and free reserves. That means your buyback should never be more than this 25%. So if I ask you what is the limit, maximum limit for the buyback, it shall not be more than 25% of the aggregate paid up share capital and free reserves. But if we are specifically talking about the buyback of equity shares, children, then the limit is 25% of the total paid up equity capital. Okay? No SR required if it is less than 10% of the paid up equity and free reserves. Board resolution is required. Maximum limit is 24% of the total paid up share capital and free reserves. But for equity shares, it is 25% of the total paid up equity. What shall be the debt equity ratio? Whenever you do the buyback, it shall not be more than 2:1. In case of a good debt equity ratio, company is trying to see that you have sufficient good equity in order to pay off your liabilities. The shares shall be fully paid up. Again, in bonus shares also we had this provision, same provision in buyback of securities. The shares shall always be fully paid up. In case of listed shares, we have to comply with SEBI guidelines, nothing very important. So it is simple, you know that, okay? We have to, if it is not listed, then we have to follow the act. Again, important point. The buyback should be completed within 1 year from the date of offering of the buyback securities. So it is very important that you complete the procedure of buyback within a period of 1 year. Procedure before buyback. No, this is the entire procedure that you have to follow before buyback. But let's have a quick recap for the first 2 slides that we have just done. Number 1, the buyback will be done from what all the resources? Quickly in the chat box. Buyback will be done from what all sources of funds? Excellent. Securities premium, free reserves, and proceeds of fresh issue. Can we buy back the securities out of the fresh issue of the same kind of securities? Yes or no? Let's try to learn the content here only in the class. Absolutely correct. No, ma'am, we cannot do the buyback from the same kind of securities out of the same proceeds. Articles shall authorize it. SR is required or OR is required. In what cases SR is not required in buyback? In what circumstances SR is not required in buyback? Very good. In case it is less than 10% of the paid up equity capital and free reserves. In that case, board resolution is required. What is the maximum limit of buyback? I know you have to be quick. 25%. Okay. For equity, it is 25% of the total paid up equity capital. Debt equity ratio, you have all answered me 2:1. Absolutely correct. And listed company hai, to aapne SEBI follow karna hai. Shares shall be partly paid up or fully paid up for buyback. Very good, very good, very good. Fully paid. And what is the time period within which the buyback should be completed? 5 years, 8 years, 2 years, 1 year. Oh my God. Itne intelligent bache. All the answers were correct. Now let's see the procedure before buyback. So notice will be sent at the special resolution. When you are doing a special resolution, I told you children, an explanatory statement along with the notice is sent. You will give the full disclosure of the material facts. Why do you need to do the buyback? What are the securities which are going to be purchased? Is it preference shares or it is equity shares? Amount to be invested in the buyback. Where will you invest this amount of buyback? And what is the time limit of completing the buyback? Now you will ask me, ma'am, why do we need to mention this time limit? Because time limit has to be done within 12 months. That is within 1 period. But you have to give the time that is within 1 period, 1 year, how much time you will take for completing this buyback. So what are the 5 things that will go in the notice? Complete this detail about the material facts. Why there is a need of buyback? Kya karna kya aapne buyback ki kyun zarurat padi hai? What is the amount to be invested? Class of shares and time limit. Within 12 months from the date of passing special resolution or board resolution, the buyback shall be completed. The securities that you're going to do buyback can be from the existing shareholders or from the open market or the security issues under the employee stock options or rights issue. So you can do the buyback of securities from right shares also, which you have issued in the section 62. The ESOPs can also be used for buyback, and even you can buy in the open market. Now, sixth point is very, very important, declaration of solvency. Form number SH9 you will be submitting with the company has to submit. Before doing any kind of buyback, you have to file form number SH9 with the registrar and also with the SEBI. You will tell them that board of directors have made a full inquiry and they have found that the company will be able to meet its all liabilities and will not be declared insolvent for a period of 12 months from this declaration. Now, children, what are you doing? You're buying back your own securities. I told you whenever you're doing buyback of securities, reduction of share capital, you have to take care of your liabilities, creditors, debenture holders who are standing, waiting in the queue for your money. So you have to submit a declaration of solvency. Ma'am, solvency क्या होता है? We have always heard the word insolvent. What is the meaning of this word solvency? What is the meaning of the word insolvent? When your assets are not sufficient to pay off your liabilities. So you have to give them a declaration that I have sufficient assets and the capital out of which I'll be paying off my liabilities. So a declaration of solvency has to be given to the registrar as well as to SEBI that yes, we are a solvent kind of, we are a good going company. हमारे पास पैसा है अपनी liabilities को pay off करने के लिए. And अगले 12 महीने में next 12 months, we are not going to get insolvent. So this is the most important declaration of solvency has to be given whenever you try to buy back the securities. And who is going to sign this declaration of solvency? At least 2 directors. One of them shall be a managing director. At least 2 directors are going to sign it. Yes, Harshada, absolutely correct. So any 2 directors, one of them shall be managing directors. So quickly tell me, securities can be purchased from existing shareholders or security holders on proportionate basis, right shares, employees issued ESOPs. They can also be used. Sweat equity shares में से भी हो सकता है buyback. Open market से भी हो सकता है. What is the form for declaration of solvency? SH9 filed with registrar and SEBI. Only for listed companies you will go to SEBI, not for unlisted companies. And it shall be signed by 5 directors, 8 directors, or 2 directors. 2 directors. One of them shall be MD. And for how long period they will not be declared insolvent. So both the places the period is same, 12 months. It shall be winded up within 12 months period from buyback. And again, the declaration of solvency is also for 12 months. आगे चलिए. Extinguishment of securities. Now, once you have buyback the securities, you physically destroyed these shares within 7 days of the last date of completing buyback. So within how many days you have to extinguish means khatam kar dena, physically destroy kar dena shares ko. Whatever shares have been bought back, within 7 days, the shares shall be physically destroyed. Now, there is a cooling period time. No fresh issue of shares will be made. Once you have done, see, you are going back to buy back your own securities. You are buying your shares. And now you again go for further issue of shares. You have to be at a one side. You were in need of, you have tried to become very rich by buying back securities. You have so much money that you have purchased your own securities back. And now again, you come up with something that again, I'm in need of money. For 6 months, you're not going to out to the public for asking for the further issue of share capital. Neither you're going for rights issue. So it says company will not make further issue of shares or any other securities under section 62. So you cannot even go for rights issue for the period of 6 months, except bonus shares can be done or conversions of sweat equity and stock equity into debentures or equity can be done. So conversion allowed है, conversion allowed है, stock options allowed है, sweat equity allowed है, conversion is allowed, but you cannot go for further issue of share capital and you cannot go for right issue for a period of 6 months. Very good. Nidhi has written all the dates. Ma'am, first 12 months, important date. 2 places where you 12 months, 7 days, extinguish the right. And for next 6 months, you're not going for the fresh issue of shares. And if I ask my students, can I go for rights issue after I've done buyback? No, ma'am. For 6 months, you cannot go for rights issue. Can I go for conversion of shares or debentures into shares? Yes. Good. And now the last point is how the register of buyback has to be maintained. The company will maintain a register of shares showing all these details about the shares which have been cancelled, physically destroyed, how many shares were purchased, what was the consideration paid for buying back of securities. All these amount has to be maintained in form number SH10. Okay, so 2 forms we have done today, SH9 in which you're giving a declaration of solvency and SH10 which gives you the register for the buyback of securities. SH9 tells about the return of buyback of securities. You need to file a return with the SEBI containing all the details and within 30 days of such completion. So Nidhi, you can add the 4th date, that is 30 days you have to file the returns. SH11. So one detail you can make for 3 dates, 12 months, 7 days, 6 months. Another you can make SH9, declaration of solvency, SH10, that is your register of buyback. SH11 के साथ लिख लेना 30 days filing the return of buyback with the RC and SB and SEBI also if you're eligible. Along with return, certificate in SH15 will also be signed by 2 directors, one of them the managing director, that the buyback is in compliance with the provisions. And if you make any default in buyback, then minimum 1 lakh to maximum 3 lakh rupees penalty will be charged. So you can see section 67 was the most harsh section for 25 lakhs तक penalty जा रही थी and imprisonment. यहाँ पे no imprisonment, only 1 lakh to 3 lakh, which was again in the previous class also. We did the similar penalty. So mark these penalties which are in the same penalties in different sections. You can mark them in the same highlighter so that you remember. Transferring of the certain sums to capital redemption reserve. Now children, section 69 is very simple. It simply tells you the nominal value of the shares so purchased shall be. Nidhi, you can just type in the chat box, child. Where the company has purchased its shares out of the free reserves or SPA, then a sum equal to nominal value will be transferred to CRR, and this CRR is always used for issue of home issue. Section 70 gives you a prohibition that you cannot do the buyback of securities from any subsidiary companies. If you have made any default in the repayment of debentures or payment of interest amount, then at least 3 years should have passed when you have rectified these mistakes. Then only you can do a buyback. You cannot do buyback from subsidiaries and investment companies. You cannot ask the subsidiary companies that please go and do the buyback of securities for me. Okay, you cannot directly or indirectly purchase your own shares through any subsidiary. Or if you have made any default in repayments of debentures, preference shares, then at least 3 years should have passed after you have made this default good, then only you can do the buyback. Also, the company should not have made any default under section 92, 123, 127 and 129. Ma'am, ये sections क्या है? ये हम MGT वाले chapter में पढ़ेंगे जब हम management and administration करेंगे. Dhanush is saying, ma'am, you're going so fast because we are still left with debentures, my dear. So we have to finish the syllabus, right? So section 69, Dhanush, was nothing. It was simply talking about CRR, Capital Redemption Reserve. Okay. All right, then let's go slow. And if anything is still left, I'll take it up in the next class. Okay, let's complete it slowly. Happy? Okay. Then section 69, let's go back. Section 69, सबको समझ आ गया. Transferring of the sums to Capital Redemption Reserve. If you have done the buyback of securities, you can do the buyback of securities from 3 things, ma'am: free reserves, security premium, and fresh proceeds. If you have done the buyback from fresh proceeds, do you need to create CRR? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? No, ma'am. Clear? Everybody agrees. So only if you do the buyback from SPA and free reserves, then a nominal value of the shares so purchased has to be transferred to the CRR and it will be disclosed in the balance sheet. What is the purpose for which the CRR amount is used? CRR amount किस चीज के लिए use होती है? It is always used for the issue of bonus shares. See, you knew it. You already knew section 69. That's why we were just trying to hurry up. All right. Good. Soumya, Kirti, Miss P, Almas, all of you. Good. Now let's come back again to section 7. Section 70. Good, Dhanush. You have also written good answer. Section 70 किसको समझ आया? First point, hand raise करके कौन समझाया? जल्दी. Section 70 tells you that you cannot do the buyback in 3 situations. Number 1, you cannot ask your subsidiary company to go and do the buyback of your securities. Number 2, if I am ABC Limited, I have made a default in repaying my debentures, or I have not redeemed my preference shares on time, I have not repaid my deposits on time. Can I do a buyback of securities? You are a defaulter, you don't have money to pay to others, and here you are buying your own securities back. So you have to make good the loss. First, you rectify your mistakes, and 3 years should have been passed, then only you can do a buyback. And what is the third category? If you are a defaulter in section 92, 126, 127, 129, 123, then you cannot do a buyback of your securities. Is that clear to all of you, my dear students? Now, I give you 2 minutes break. Quickly read section 67, 68, 69, 70. It's a small 2 minutes break so that you can absorb the information. And then we will complete the last topic of the day of the chapter, that is section 70 debentures. ठीक है? 2 minutes ले लो आप. Just read it and then we'll proceed with it. Right, students, I cannot give you a big break because I want to complete section 70 also with all of you. I hope everything is absolutely clear to all of you over here. Yes, Naveen. So simply you cannot issue the rights shares and the fresh issue of share capital. Other than that, if you're just converting your preference shares into other equity, debentures are being issued, then you can freely issue such. Okay. But for 6 months time period, you cannot issue. You have written the company can issue only equity or debenture since the company is free to issue other type of security. No, that's wrong. You cannot issue further equity shares for a period of at least 6 months. Clear? Okay, now comes your favorite topic, that is debentures. First of all, definition of debentures is given under section 2, clause 30. You all know, my dear students, debenture includes debentures, stocks, bonds, or any other instrument which is evidencing a debt. Debt क्या होता है? A loan, a borrowing. Okay. All right. Thank you, Naveen. I'm glad you've understood it. Okay. So now all of you, section 71, last section. First of all, we will do the definition of debentures. Debenture is any bond or security which is showing a debt. Debt means a borrowing, which has a charge on the assets. Now, children, like in layman's language, if you understand, you go and buy, you take some loan from a bank. When you take a loan from the bank, say for example, 10 lakh rupees, bank will ask for certain kind of security from you. So you have to provide certain security. Say for example, Mr. A provided a loan equivalent to the value of 10 to 11 lakhs to the bank. So what do we call that security that we have provided? In law's language, we call a charge has been created on the. Tomorrow, if you not repay the loan of the bank, then your security will be sold by the bank to recover their money. Fair enough. Everyone knows that collateral security, very good Anubhav. So whenever debentures are issued, a collateral security has to be given. So debentures definition include this line that it is any instrument which is showing a debt along with the security. But it does not include chapter 3D of the Reserve Bank of India funds and any other instruments as specified by SEBI. Now, you don't have to refer to what are the chapter 3D funds of RBI. It is just a definition. You have to learn this definition as I've broken into two parts. Number one, it includes these three things and excludes two things. One is the RBI funds given under chapter 3D and any other instruments which central government has specified. Now, section 71, if debenture, a company is authorized by SR in the general meeting, they have the option to convert the debentures. So, debentures can be convertible debentures and children, it can be non-convertible debentures also. Debentures can be convertible debentures also and they can be non-convertible. For issuing a convertible debentures, क्या होते हैं convertible debentures? हमने अभी पीछे पढ़ा है chapter में that the debentures which can be converted into equity shares at the time of redemption. So you can convert these debentures only if special resolution has been passed at the time of issue of debentures. So we just read this point after 4.51. If you come to 4.45253, we have just read this point in the study material also, that where I just told you about section 62, third part, where converting the debentures into shares, SR has to be passed. So same point is being repeated in section 71, that only if SR has been passed, then only you can issue a convertible debenture. Children, debentures have a voting right? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? Rajveer, Anubhav, Miss P, good. Others, Kevin, where are you? Harshita, Dhanush, good. Everyone knows that now, that debentures don't have a voting right because it's a borrowing. You don't get any voting rights. Secured debentures may be issued. What is the meaning of secured debentures? बचपन से पढ़ते आ रहे हो, आपको आता है. Very good, Bhumika. Charge created against the assets. So security has to be provided on the basis of terms and conditions. Everyone is clear on these 3 points. Now let's come on something which is new for CA intermediate students. Whatever we read in the first two slides was something which is there in subconscious mind from class 11. Now we are reading something different. What is the maximum period for issuing the secured debentures? First of all, now this is the last topic and I am going to have a quick recap of entire chapter along with that. What was the maximum period for issuing preference shares? Section 55. What was the maximum period? Again, Anubhav, Miss P. Priya is asking me, ma'am, 20 years question mark. Ma'am, 20 years ही था ना? Jandra good. Yes, it was. 20 years. Rajbi Ray, 20 years and 30 years. Huh? Ma'am, you apply your exception on your own. So when was it 30 years? Infra 30 years. Very nice. Very nice. Good. So that means I am happy at least that you remember. So you can give yourself a patting from my side. Wonderful answers given. So now since you have adopted preference shares can be issued for maximum 20 and can be extended for 30, provided 10% are redeemed from starting from 21st year. Now put another information in your mind. Maximum period for debentures, it cannot be more than 10 years, except in these three cases, the tenure can go up till maximum 30 years. अगर आप ऐसे कॉन्सेप्ट को रिलेट करते हो ना तो हमेशा आपको याद रहता है. अब इस कॉन्सेप्ट के पास छोटे से नोट में लिख लेना सेक्शन 55 में प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स में 20 एंड 30 इयर्स दी, तो आपको कभी भूलेगा नहीं, आपको कंफ्यूजन नहीं रहेगी कि मैम वो 10 इयर्स था ये 20 इयर्स. अगर आप डिबेंचर्स के पास ही छोटे से पैराग्राफ में इफ यू राइट अबाउट प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स. So what are the four companies? Again, first two relates to infrastructure. If you are infrastructure project company, you are providing finance for the infrastructure. You are into infrastructure debt fund NBFCs or your national housing finance companies. Then again, you can issue debentures for exceeding 10 years, but it shall not be more than 30 years. Everyone is clear on this point? Now comes your very, very interesting point, debenture trustee. So the best part of Companies Act is all the sections of the chapters are so beautifully framed. The moment we end the chapter prospectus, we have heard the word share capital, securities, debentures, and chapter 4 starts with share capital and debentures. The moment we are going to end the chapter debentures, section 71, we will be understanding about debenture trustee. And trust me, the next chapter which I'll be taking with you on next Monday opens up with the definition of deposit trustee. So all the chapters, the first book module, I would say so beautifully act has been made that if I am studying all the chapters consistently, you will be able to learn and grasp the things very beautifully. So now we are going to understand debenture trustee, which again we will be understanding in the definition chapter 5 as a deposit trustee. So who is a debenture trustee? First of all, why there is a need of debenture trustee? Ma'am, we have issued debentures of 10 lakh. We have provided so much security for that issue of debentures. Somebody has to take care of our security. So a debenture trustee is appointed for taking care of the security which has been provided by the way of charge. Now, charge is another word which we are going to understand in chapter number 6. Registration of charge. This is Priya Mishra. This is what I'm trying to tell you, these small points that you're talking about. This is how your mind will start picking up. And children, trust me, first time you're studying, so it's very, very normal to forget. Don't try to match your speed with the teachers because teachers have been repetitively reading law. We keep reading amendments. We keep brushing our skills again and again. You have to study it for once and all and give you exams. So you are doing it for the first time. It's normal to get confused and get worried. Your homework is to revise it. Third time, you learn it. And fourth time, you have seen yourself performing so well when I take your test. So don't worry at all. Okay? It's very, very normal if you at times you feel that I'm forgetting, I'm not able to retain the information. It's normal. It happens with everyone. But what I told you should not go away from your face. The smile whenever you open your law books, it has to be with you. things become very, very easy and simple. Okay. So now security creation by chart. So debenture trustees will take care that they will see whether the security has been provided. Security has been in the favor of debenture trustee, whether it is a movable property of holding subsidiary or any other company or any other immovable property. Again, register valuer will do the valuation. The valuation of security should be such that it covers the amount of debentures as well as the interest bill. So again, going back to the basic example, when I have given gold to the bank and I've taken a loan of 10 lakhs, I told you at least the value of gold shall be more than 10 lakhs so that bank can recover my money if I am a default. Similarly, when debentures are issued, the value of security shall always be more than the value of security, should be more than the amount of the debentures. It shall be sufficient for the repayment of debentures and interest. Clear? Everybody's clear about this? Now, debenture trust deed will be made in form number SH12. So you have appointed this trustee. You have signed a form that is SH12 to protect the interest of the debenture holders. A debenture trust deed is made and debenture trustee is appointed. After that, DRR reserve is created. Debenture redemption reserve. There we were creating which reserve? Capital redemption reserve. Here we are creating debenture redemption reserve out of the profits available for paying the dividend. The amount which is credited to the DRR will be used for redemption of debentures. What is the meaning of redemption of debentures, children? बचपन से पढ़ते आ रहे हो. Repayment of debentures. Very good. So now let's understand the requirements for DRR. How you're going to create a DRR. So all India financial institutions regulated by RBI, banking companies and listed companies are not required to create DRR. Unlisted companies other than NBFCs, DRR equal to 10% of outstanding debentures is created. Now, how much DRR you have to create? 10% of the outstanding debentures. Method of investment of deposits on or before 30th April will have to be created. In respect of the shares and debentures that have been issued, at least 15% of the debentures maturing during the financial year, that much amount has to be deposited in your debenture redemption reserve. Now, we are creating a balance so that whenever we try to redeem the debentures in next year, a sufficient amount of balance is lying over there. Okay, in following methods of deposits, they have given you the following methods, how you can do the investments related to the debenture redemption reserve. So what you have to remember, 15% of the amounts which are maturing during the financial year, at least that much amount should have been created in the debenture redemption reserve. And at any time, the amount shall not fall below 15% of the amounts maturing on the year ending of 31st March. थोड़ा सा tricky है. जब next class में detail में एक बारी 15% वाला point I will take up again with you. We'll try to take examples also. Because here, if I again try to explain it, elaborate with the examples, it will take a lot of time. So this point, simply try to remember 15% you are depositing, and whenever the balance that you are maintaining, 15% of the amount balance shall always be maintained for that year. And the last point that we wanted to complete over here is what is the eligibility of debenture trustee? Who can be appointed as the debenture trustee? The debenture trustee who will be appointed will be sent the offer letter. His written consent has to be taken that yes, I am ready to be appointed work as a debenture trustee for your company. There are 6 to 7 category of people who cannot be appointed as the debenture trustee. Who are these? They are the beneficial holders of the shares. So if you're a beneficial holder of a shares, you cannot be appointed as the debenture trustee. The promoters, directors, or key managerial personnel of the company cannot be appointed. You cannot be my related party, right? You cannot be my promoter or director who is appointed as a, you have to be an outsider who is appointed because you're taking care of the security of the debenture holders. You're trying to protect the interest of debenture holders. So you cannot be the promoter, director, or KMP of my company. Either you can't be a relative of these 3 people who are mentioned over above. So first 3 category, first you will take the written consent from the debenture trustees. You will send them the names through the offer letters. 3 people who cannot be appointed as debenture trustee are, jaldi jaldi likho chat box pe. Beneficial holder of shares, promoter, director, KMP नहीं appoint हो सकते, उनका relative भी नहीं appoint हो सकता. Beneficiary entitled to monies which are to be paid by the company otherwise than the remuneration payable to the debenture trustee. So the company should not be paying you any remuneration other than the remuneration means salary that they have to pay. Okay. The salary, obviously the salary will be given to the debenture trustee, but other than that, the company should not be paying any other money to these debenture trustees. You shall not be indebted to the company or its holding or subsidiary company. So there should be no loan amount or any money to be given to the company from your side. No guarantee should have been given by you. And there is another that you should not be having any pecuniary relationship. So pecuniary relationship means a monetary relationship with a company. Now here a limit has been given over here. How you have to remember this pecuniary relationship. It says if you are appointed as my debenture trustee, you shall not be related with the company on a monetary terms. Now, what is this pecuniary relationship? Let's try to understand. It says a relationship of 2% or more of its gross turnover. So if the company's gross turnover is 10 crores, what will be the 2% of that 10 crores? What will be the 2% of that 10 crores? Let's take 100 crores so that you can talk in full numbers. Too much information for today, huh? Calculators have also stopped working in the mind. So 100 will be easy to take because it will be 2 CR. So 2% of the gross turnover, that is 2 CR. Or the total income. So let's assume the total income is 1 crore. Or rupees 50 lakhs, whichever is higher. So it says 2% of the gross turnover, that is 2 CR. Total income, that is 1 CR. Or 50 lakh. Or such higher amount as may be prescribed, whichever is lower out of this. Whichever is lower during the two immediately financial years or during the current financial year. So whichever is lower, first select that. 50 lakhs. So now, if I am a debenture trustee and you are the company, we both should not have any sale purchase of relationship of more than 50 lakh rupees. That is the meaning of pecuniary relationship. It says that you should not be having any monetary bonds with the company. For that, they have set up a limit. And don't worry at all. Debenture trustee में हम जो पढ़ते हैं, इसका replicate आप अगले chapter में मेरे साथ पढ़ने वाले हैं. And we are going to revise it also in the next class. So don't worry. I understand too much information for today because we have done section 67, 68, buyback पढ़ा है हमने. We have done revision of whole of the chapter along with that. And now we are sailing in the last section with an anxious mind that whether we'll be able to complete it or not. Don't worry. Even if we are not able to complete it, I am there to complete the chapter with you on Monday when we start the acceptance of deposits. And my dear students, this debenture trustee is very much related to deposit trustees. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Harleen ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm so sorry I'm taking your time. I've seen that you're there, but I was just trying if we can complete the chapter. But
Sure. First, complete the chapters. Today, I have a case scenario for the students. So, request the students to stay tuned so that we can discuss. And today, I have one more tip for them. So, stay tuned, students.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep them awake because so much information has already been overloaded in their head. So I was just trying to tell them that this topic will again be coming up related to deposits also. All right. So pecuniary relationship we have completed. And the last point says the debenture trustee may be removed from his office before the expiry of his term. Now, when you're trying to remove him means he can either resign or any casual vacancy can occur in his office. But here, if you're trying to remove him, you're trying to change him, then approval of at least 3/4 of the value of debenture holders has to be taken. So if you see debenture trustee is somebody who's taking care, who is protecting the interest of debenture holders. So if you're trying to remove him, 3/4 of the value of debenture, so I should be giving my consent that, okay, I'm ready that this debenture trustee can be changed or he can be removed. Is that clear? If any casual vacancy happen, then again, majority of the consent of debenture holders consent can be taken and we can fill up the casual vacancy. And the last point, it tells about the meeting of debenture holders. If 1/10 of the debenture holders in writing request, then we can hold a meeting of debenture holders also. But if the debenture trustees feel that any event is happening which is affecting the interest of the debenture holders, then suo motu also they can call the meeting. Suo motu means on their own. Otherwise, the meeting is called for the debenture holders, at least 10% of the value of debenture holders. And if it is not the case, if the debenture trustees feel that yes, there is a breach which is happening, a default which is happening, then suo motu also they can call for the meeting. So it's done. Let's have a quick recap. Debentures, definition you have to learn. First of all, definition is clear. Section 71, SR is required, no voting right. These 4 cases absolutely correct. 10 to 30 years. 30 years के लिए exceptions क्या है? 4 companies infrastructure related हो जाएगा. The next point, debenture trustee. Everybody is clear on this slide. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Chat box. Where are you? Hurry up. SH12 is the form for the debenture trust deed that you have entered. DRR is created. How much amount are you going to invest in DRR? 15% of the amount you will be investing in the DRR for the deposits which are maturing during the financial year. So amount of 15% of the debentures, whatever debentures are maturing during the financial year, that much amount equivalent you will be depositing in the debenture redemption reserve. And when you use that amount for repaying the debentures, make sure that the current balance shall not go below the 15% of the amounts matured. Is that clear? After that, eligibility of debenture trustee. Who will be appointed as a debenture trustee? The written consent has to be taken from that person. Now, quickly, let's run through the 7 exceptions that we have done. 7 exceptions, those who cannot be appointed as the debenture trustee. A person who is a beneficial holder of shares. If you are already a shareholder of my company, can you be appointed as the debenture trustee? Yes or no? No, correct. Promoter, director, or KMP, can they be appointed as the debenture trustee? No, ma'am. Can a relative of a promoter, director, or KMP be appointed as the debenture trustee? No, ma'am. Easy. First 3 points learned. No doubts. Okay. 4th point. Can I pay any money to this debenture trustee? No, the company should not be paying other than the remuneration. Remuneration क्या होता है? Salary. Salary दे सकते हो, उसके अलावा आप कोई भी पैसा debenture trustee को नहीं दो. You shall not be indebted to the company. कोई कर्जा नहीं होना चाहिए आपके सिर पे कंपनी या सब्सिडरी या होल्डिंग कंपनी को लेकर. You shall not be indebted towards the company. You shall not have given any guarantee for the principal debts. So how are we going to learn these next 3 points? No payment to be received other than remuneration. Not indebted towards the company or subsidiary or holding. Not given any guarantee towards the company. And the last 7th point says that you should not be having any pecuniary relationship, means any monetary relationship with the company. For that, a certain limit has been given. 2% of the gross turnover or the total income or 50 lakhs. Whichever is lower out of this, you shall not be having any relationship for the amount over and above that amount. Next point, debenture trustee can be removed if 3/4 of the value of debenture holders have agreed. Casual vacancy to be filled, written consent of majority of the, I have underlined the words, you don't have to struggle for that. Written consent of the majority. In the next class, I will ask you, all the debenture holders have to give or majority? So you will answer me? Yes, Kirti, Nidhi, Anandruthi, very good, all of those who are answering. Soumya, Dhanush, absolutely correct. Sunil, very good. Rajveer, majority of the debenture holders should have said, yes, then only I can fill the casual vacancy. And the last point, can I call the meeting of debenture holders? Only when, how many debenture holders says yes for the meeting? 1/10 of the debenture holders. Not 1/3, Sunil, it's 1/10. And can the debenture trustee call the meeting suo motu? Only if there is any breach or default, in order to protect the interest of the debenture holders, then he can call the meeting suo motu also. Is that clear? So with this, we have completed whole of the chapter, and in the next class, we will start the class with the revision of debentures. That's my promise to you. But you have to give it a reading, whatever we have done. Kirti suo motu means अपनी मर्जी से. डिबेंचर ट्रस्टी को लगता है कि कुछ गड़बड़ हो रही है, कुछ डिफॉल्ट है, they are not following the rules, then he will quickly call the meeting of the debenture holders. Then we will not wait for the consent of 1/10 of the value of debenture. All right, but you have to revise and learn all the sections properly, whatever we have done in the class today, and then we will again have a quick revision of that. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Harleen ma'am. So, Kirti, you were asking about suo motu. Suo motu का मतलब होता है अपने आप से, जो मैं स्वयं से डिसीजन लेती हूँ. The decision that I take on my own without consulting the whole class of people. Okay. Supposedly, ma'am is taking the class, and right now she feels that some of the students need to be expelled. So she will take the decision on her own without consulting me or any of the other technical support, and that is known as suo motu. So, when you will be doing the chapter of interpretation of statutes, at those times you will be reading some of the Latin words or things like that. So, suo motu is one such thing, notwithstanding suo motu, and you have to use it a lot. Okay. So for today, I have made a case scenario for you guys. Just hold on. Okay. Is my screen visible to you?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So students, just read this case scenario. It is a very small case scenario for you guys. Just read it. And it's 8:32 right now. Just read it, and then at 8:34, I will then start with the MCQs. Okay, so this is a very small case scenario. Generally, when we are having case scenario based questions in the examination, at that time, what happens? This will be a single independent case scenario based question. It will not be followed with 2 to 3 MCQs. But right now, what MCQs I'm giving you. You already know the answer. Many of the students have already given the answer, but I will show you how this small scenario can give rise to 2 to 3 MCQs, and the same MCQ can be asked in 2 different manners. Answers are very simple. I know you already know it. So let's see this. The first one. Just write in the chat box. Some of you have already given the answer. Okay, most of the students have given the answer as D, which is correct. One student has given the answer as A, that is not correct, because since 2018, the government has taken away the condition that there is a lock-in period that the company should be have 1 year should have elapsed from the time period of its incorporation for issuing of sweat equity shares. Now, there is one more thing. See, the same question can be asked in this manner also. The same question. I hope this is clear. Yes. Now, let's go to one other MCQ, which is this. Tell me the answer. Okay, so students are getting confused with N, option A, option C, and option D. Okay, any of the students can tell me why they are saying option A? Students who are writing option A, can they please tell me why they are saying option A? Kindly unmute.
Students, you can raise your hands so that ma'am can speak to you.
P. Mujahid. Can you please let me know that why you are saying option A, bache? Mujahid. Okay. So if you don't want to answer, then students, those who are saying option D, raise your hand who wants to answer why option D. हरलीन मैम आज बच्चे सो गए हैं आंसर तो देख के उन्होंने कहा ठीक है लेट इट बी
Students, where are you?
आंसर तो दे दिया है
So ma'am is asking you why those who have said the option A, what is the reason for that?
Okay, so one student has written that if startup, then 50% of equity share plus preference shares. Okay. So the correct option is option yes, option D. Now, we will learn how the examiner or the person who is making your paper will not give you these limits. They will give you the calculation. Now, if I go, I hope you have seen this question. go back to the case scenario, and we are saying that this company is having a paid up share capital of 5,000 crore. Now, the same question has to be made in terms of amount of share capital. How would it be? Can you frame it? That if ABC Limited qualifies as a startup company, what would be the maximum permissible, not percentage, maximum permissible amount, and changing it as amount, if you can see it, or sweat equity that it can issue in a year. Please frame it. I want the options.
You can repeat it once again. I think some of them are not able to hear it.
Okay.
The last time.
In this case, the company is having the share capital of 5,000 crore. So instead of percentage, now they are saying that tell us the maximum permissible amount of sweat equity shares that it can issue in a year. Correct. Correct. So since we are saying percent in case of a share, the startup company, so 5,000 ka 50% is 2,500 crore.
Yes.
Why I am telling you how the questions will be made? If the question is like this, with many students, like ma'am is teaching you so well, so you are able to make the MCQs also on your own now. What happens is the same question can be asked as an MCQ. They can give you the whole scenario and then give you the limits, like 2,500, 2,500 crore, 500 crore, yeah, 4 such limits. Or what they can do is they can make the same question as a descriptive question. In case of descriptive question, what would have you done? You would have written as per section 54. In case of a startup company, the limit is this. As the company, क्योंकि आप act तो आप लोग लिख लोगे. Now comes the part where you have to correlate, because I'm getting many queries from students that, ma'am, do we need to write the whole facts and then then we need to correlate? If I have to correlate it directly with the facts, I will write as given in the question that we have a share capital of 5,000 crore, and in case of a startup company, the limit is 50% of the paid up share capital. Hence, now the conclusion. Hence, the maximum permissible amount of sweat equity shares that it can issue in a year is equal to 5,000 into 50% is equal to 25 rupees, 2,500 crore of share capital. I hope it is clear to you, students. So thank you that you have been able to understand it. The point is you have to make it very clear to you. The same thing can be asked in multiple ways from you. And you should not get confused with the limits. You should be like that, how, like in case of a started company, what is the limit? In case of a normal company, what is the limit? And then like if it's a descriptive question, it can be a 4 marks question also. And here right now the same thing has been asked as a 2-mark MCQ. So ma'am, that's all from my side for my students today. And thank you that you have been, is it mandatory to write facts? You have to correlate the facts. If you are just writing the provision and you are not correlating, आप कैसे बोलोगे? आप सिर्फ provision लिख के तो नहीं आओगे ना. उसके बाद short में you have to correlate. That's why I told you about the correlation. You don't have to write about the whole of the facts. There is no need to repeat the whole of the facts while writing a descriptive question answer. You have to just write only the certain portion of the facts which you are correlating with the provision and which is necessary for drawing that conclusion. Yes, facts plus conclusion is equal to correlation. So Anubhav is saying for descriptive question, ma'am, we have to write the fact of the case, provision of the law, and then conclusion. Better way is to write first the provision, then a correlation of the facts and the provision, and then the conclusion. Because many a times what happens is, suppose you know the provision very correctly, but somehow you are not able to correlate the both, and then you are drawing a wrong conclusion. At that point, you will not lose the marks for your provision, but you will lose the marks for the conclusion and the correlation. However, you will not lose the marks for your provision. So it is always advisable. There is no fixed formula that you first write the provision. At least आपको ये तो समझ में आ जाता है कि इससे related provision कौन सा. So that's why we say कि आप provision लिखिए, लेकिन इसमें एक point और है. अगर in case आपको लगता है आपका provision ही आपका गड़बड़ है, आपको नहीं आता, तो आप provision और provision और facts को mix करके लिख दीजिए, जो हम correlation कहते हैं. उसमें आपके marks जरूर कटेंगे, but at least you will write something. But in that case, you will be not getting the highest marks. So is that clear, Anubhav and Bhumika? Very good, very good, very good. So, ma'am, that's all from my side, and I hope so they have understood. So,
Thank
until
you.
the next class, take care, guys, and have fun with ma'am. So, see you in the next class.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think this was really a good enhanced knowledge for them. So they are able to relate that so many MCQs can come up with a single simple question. So thank you so much for helping us to interrelate the questions. And I hope students, you have taken the insights from ma'am. And now I can see only thank you messages. Soumya is writing, thank you for making the concepts easier and imbibing the interest and love towards the subject. So that's great, students. This is what we want you to do. And now all the best. Revise your share capital and debentures, and see you all on Monday, that is 21st. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes.